My guest today, Maelle Kervarek, heads up Strategic Initiatives and Alliances for Africa, or SIA Africa, which works to impact technology-driven education, health, city planning, economic investment, and ethical governance. If that's a mouthful, Maelle explains it better than I. What's unique about SIA, founded in 2011, is that they are a matchmaker. They work to identify and bring together resource-rich partners and opportunities and focus less on their own internal capabilities. It's a formula for a very efficient, lean, and productive nonprofit. I learned a lot about cultivating partnerships from Maelle, and now I give you Maelle Kervarek and SIA Africa. Maelle Kervarek from SIA Africa, welcome to the Nonprofiteers podcast.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chip.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day here in Paris, so it looks like a promising weekend.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Hollis, New Hampshire. I live close to Boston. I think I'd rather be in Paris right now.
We could trade.
So the last time we talked, I learned some amazing things about SIA Africa. Let's start by talking about your history with SIA Africa and the history of SIA Africa in general.
With SIA Africa for about 8 years now, and I work as Director General, and I also lead a team of volunteers because all our work is volunteer based. So we do work with a lot of students who also intern with SIA Africa for a couple of months or a semester. And yeah, so it's a team of about 15 to 20 volunteers and students. And we work on different initiatives, different projects. I've been doing several things since I joined. We work a lot with beneficiaries, of course, but also with our partners.
And tell me about some of the program work you've done. So it was founded in 2011 by Nene Kojo, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've been around for 11 years. And yeah, so it's a 501c3 nonprofit that is registered in New York City. And maybe I should also say what SIA Africa stands for. So it's Sustainable Initiatives and Alliances for Africa. So we work a lot with our beneficiaries in Africa. A lot of them are located in Ghana.
What is the mission and vision of SIA Africa?
Our mission is our desire to work with our partners. So we don't work alone. And that's how we different also from other organizations, other nonprofits. And our mission is to support the initiatives by matching resources with needs and opportunities. So we work in different fields such as education, health, economic investment, and we are also a strong advocate for women empowerment.
So you're a true multi-sector nonprofit. You work in a lot of different areas, and it sounds
Yes.
like it's not dictated so much by what your preference is for the sector. It's dictated more by the opportunity that's available with the region or an opportunity that's available, made available by a partner, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. In terms of, we don't limit ourselves to just working in education or working in health or other fields, but it's more about the initiative itself. If, of course, if it matches our vision and mission and what we believe in.
I think that's a very interesting aspect of your work, that you guys are not like a lot of NGOs or nonprofits. You're not cultivating in-house expertise. Your expertise is in being a matchmaker, finding partners for opportunities.
Yes, we use that word a lot when we explain to people what we do, and usually people make the connection, and we are matchmakers. We are the liaison between our beneficiaries on the ground and our partners and donors around the world.
Since you've been on board, Maelle, What are some of the projects that have been successful that you've found particularly interesting?
We've been able to support our beneficiaries. So most of beneficiaries are schools, whether they are primary schools or middle schools or a few high schools as well in Ghana. We supported them with equipment, meaning providing tablets or laptops or working on facilitating connectivity, internet access,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But not only equipment, but also resources and human resources. We've been doing a lot of mentoring activities. We're strong advocate for women empowerment as well. And we've done a series of mentoring activities for young girls and women and had our members mentoring them and share their expertise and background. And it was just, a way for them to be inspired and
Mm-hmm.
also to think about their future in terms of what path they wanted to follow by continuing their studies or if they had the entrepreneur path. All of that was mostly to inspire them and to provide them some type of career guidance.
There's been a lot of focus on women and girls, which is really good.
I think the mindset is also changing, right? Meaning women can access top leader positions, being CEO or founders of their own company and business, especially in Africa and Ghana. We've been following some success stories of some of the beneficiaries.
Good. And I'm sure donors love to hear that as well about the success stories. It seems like if you just present the opportunities, there will be uptake.
I think
Yeah.
it's a matter of leading the way, being like a pioneer in that field and showing the way to the future generation.
As the director general, what have been, over the past 8 years since you started, what have been the biggest challenges for you in the SIA Africa context?
One of the biggest challenges is to retain volunteers, keep them engaged, have them commit more than the semester.
Hmm.
They're with us for only a semester and trying to engage them and having them working on some initiatives that they also like. It's mostly for them to use their skills, also to build up their experience and resume. I think it's a good opportunity for students to do this volunteer work. But as a challenge itself, it requires a lot of training because when people join, they don't know anything about organization or the work. And so they have to be updated of what has been going on and what focus they should have towards a specific project. Who are the partners? Who are the members that they can also work with and also reach out to for specific advice and input? So all of that requires a lot of time, a lot of
That's right.
training as well. Yeah, and sometimes, and I think the nonprofit world maybe is also like in any kind of company work, right? When people join, sometimes they don't like, they just leave.
Hmm.
So we also have to face that and pick up the work quickly and be ready to continue the work and keep the initiative going.
It seems like the benefits of it's amazing that you guys have an all volunteer
Mm,
workforce. So kudos to you. But what you gain in reduced overhead, and when I say overhead, I mean like funding for staff, right?
right.
You must lose when it comes to some things like continuity and retention. So I hear what you're saying about retention. Where are most of the volunteers? Are they remote or are they in Ghana or are they all over
Yes.
the world?
So all our work is done remote. So a
Hmm.
lot of volunteers and students are in America, in the States, but we also work with other students or volunteers based in Europe or based in Africa. So we don't limit us to just one region, but anyone is welcome to join wherever they
Hmm.
are in the world. Yeah,
Great.
so it also has its challenges sometimes doing the work remote on different time zones. So we have to take that into account as well.
That's a ubiquitous challenge for in global NGOs. I remember I was sleep deprived for about 3 years while I was working at Mercy Corps because just traveling everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's challenging to work
Mm.
remotely or to travel to be in the region where the beneficiaries are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also in addition to our regular work. We all work full
Mhm.
time aside, so we have to dedicate this time whenever we have that time.
I don't know how you do it. Do you actually sleep at all, or have you just
I
given up
do.
on
Yeah.
sleep?
I do sleep.
So you mentioned remote working. You mentioned the challenges, which mainly retention with an all volunteer workforce. What are some other big challenges that are perpetual?
I would say also maybe to work with partners
Hmm.
because sometimes people get on board and they are excited about the project or the initiative. On the other side, people change position. So, for example, we will engage with one person from a company or startup, and the person leaves, and we have another person. And again, to do all the work again. We've had some issues, not
Hmm.
a lot, thankfully, but that can also happen. And sometimes that slows us down in terms of achieving our work and also meeting the deadlines that we have set.
Yeah, I would think so because in your work, you're heavily reliant on the volunteers. So
Yeah,
if there's a shift there,
exactly.
the
Mhm.
partners are it could be volunteers as well. On some level, partners may not be paid. I don't we'll talk about your funding in a little bit, but yeah, I would think for a organization that's 100% volunteer and totally reliant on partnerships, that could be a source of challenge and potential instability, but it also means that you guys must be great at cultivating partnerships.
I mean, that's really important. And that's very interesting that you mentioned that because the goal is to work closely with them. And because all our initiatives are meant to be sustainable, so it's not just one time type of deal. But the idea behind that is to, for example, when I was talking about providing internet access to young students, the goal is to also have the students learn something or enroll in coding classes,
Mhm.
learn about STEAM is really big right now, providing something and move on to the next initiative.
Yeah, that's great. So, a challenge you didn't mention is fundraising.
Hmm.
So, how do you do your fundraising and what's that
Yes.
like?
Yeah, fundraising is really, people think it's from the outside. It requires a lot of work in terms of putting the message together, having the right content, right materials to share with the message, and who also studying who we target, like who will be the potential donors for this
Mhm.
specific initiative. So you're right, fundraising is not an easy thing, but it's also, you learn a lot as you go. We're working on a few right now.
By the way, your command of English is excellent. We wouldn't be able to do this if I had to speak French. So,
Oh,
thank you for
you're welcome.
So, back to fundraising. What are your target donors? What do they look like? Do you go after big donors? What kind of marketing do you do? Do you have
Mhm.
events? All of that.
Like for me, it's a matter of being moved by the initiative, by the message that we share, and that's something that doesn't always work, and that's okay because people are moved by different things. So we also have to take that into account when we work. We have to be as general as we can, but also highlight the needs explicitly for donors to be able to understand right away what basically what we're asking and who will be benefiting from the funds or resources. But we work closely with our board members who also have their network, and the idea is for them to share the message, to share the fundraiser with their network, their friends, their family, their colleagues. It's a matter of just spreading the word.
Do you use social media and email, or is most of your fundraising done by board members, word of mouth?
We do use social media a lot. So we did some Instagram fundraisers. I think Instagram works pretty good in terms of raising funds. And
Mhm.
we also email people. So we share the newsletters and a video with a message.
That's great. I know you don't have a paid marketing team. That's a volunteer
Mm,
activity as well. It's great to get both beneficiaries and board members involved. The whole team can spread the word and deliver the message better
mhm.
than a
Yeah.
couple of marketing people.
So it doesn't rely on just one person. It's a
Hmm.
teamwork and everyone is involved.
What are the big things that you've learned personally over the last as a nonprofit leader? And then how have you brought those principles to bear in your leadership?
Oh my gosh, I've learned a lot, that's for sure. Yeah, it certainly requires some dedication, patience, but also being committed. And I think
Hmm.
that's how we work well together along with my team members because we all believe in the mission. And I think
Hmm.
that's the first criteria to understand our work, what we do, what we want to achieve. You learn a lot by working with people from different backgrounds, different profiles. It's the same as any paid work in terms of you reach out to people, you don't get
Hmm.
answers, you need to send an email again or be persistent in a
Hmm.
good way. And I think working with a team with different people, different backgrounds, it's also a lot of interculturality. So I've learned a lot from the beneficiaries on the ground, mostly in Ghana, from other countries in Africa as well. And I've also taught myself at a very small level how to use some marketing tools, how to fix some things on the website.
Yeah.
So all of that has been very rewarding, and that's why I also enjoy.
It's all of that, every little bit helps,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Other semi permanent staff, even though it's an all volunteer force like you, are there other folks who are working, who have been working with SIA Africa other than the board for a
Hmm.
while?
Yeah, we are a small group of people. Nene Kojo, the founder, myself, and a few other people that have been with us since the beginning. Yeah.
Not a bunch, just more like a
Not much.
handful, right?
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
saying, we've had a lot of people joining, but also leaving for different reasons, and that's totally okay. Some people are with us for some years, and
Hmm.
it's good when we have meetings and that we look back to some past projects or some past initiatives, and it's good to see what we achieved along the way.
Sounds in some ways like you have an ideal mix because you have volunteers coming in and that can create innovation sparks, but you have people that have been there for a while. So you have continuity and steadiness as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's good to also work with students and other new volunteers because they have a fresh eye. So it's really good for them to also bring their ideas and participate in some initiative work and bring suggestions. And that's what makes a good team, actually.
Good. So what's something you were bad at when you started that you're good at now?
In the way of communicating, that you have to be straight to the point. And when you reach out to some people or potential donors, people don't want to read. They don't have time to read, so you have to be
Hmm.
as
Succinct.
yeah, exactly as
Yeah. Yeah.
possible, and they have to pick up the message quickly
Hmm.
and understand what you're asking in a few seconds. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe some of the mistakes I made at the beginning was just to like a long introduction, give too much context maybe, and not focusing on what we were asking.
My experience and the experience of other leaders that I've talked to proves out that
Mm.
communication might be the most important leadership skill
Yeah.
because you can be a great strategist and you can be
Hmm.
great at understanding process. You can have a great vision. You can have charisma, But
Mhm.
if you don't communicate well, you don't
Yeah.
get alignment. You
Mhm.
don't get with the rest of the team. You don't get good execution. You
Mhm.
don't get donors being clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it and what to expect.
Mhm.
So, if there's one skill to develop over time, that's a great one.
It's all about communication, right? Because again, when we have new volunteers, students joining, we don't let them aside do the work and wait for them to deliver. We do like regular check-ins and make sure that they have all the tools to work, they have access to all the information. So yeah, that's really important, especially when people are new to the organization.
If you were going to give three pieces of advice based on your experience to young nonprofit leaders or someone who's just starting a nonprofit,
Mhm.
what would you say to them? Three things.
Have a clear mission and vision because that relates to communication. When you have to explain what your organization is about, what you do, if it's too complicated, it won't bring anything to the table. People have to understand right away. And I would say also all ages, whether you explain
Mm-hmm.
to a 7-year old or to an 80-year old, it has to be,
Clear.
yeah,
Everyone should get it.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's why we use Matchmaker a lot because
People
some
understand that.
people understand exactly. And another thing, to work with people from different backgrounds who have different skills than you do. I think that's also key to what makes a good team. If you look for a person who has the exact same mindset as you have or the same skills, it will clash eventually.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think you have to surround yourself with different profiles, different visions as well. People who have different opinions.
Yeah. Other nonprofit leaders have
Mm,
said how important your biggest asset is your workforce.
mm,
But I love the way you said it, illustrated the importance of diversity
mm.
and also the importance of everyone's weaknesses being shored up by other people's
Yeah.
strengths. So that's a great one.
Mm.
Number three.
You have to be truthful to what you believe in, meaning, of course, we're talking about people having different opinions, but at the end of the day, you will make the decision yourself. You have to take the pros and cons from the feedback you receive, make the best decision that sounds right according to your mission and to your work.
You're saying align your decision making with the idea of getting lots of feedback and
Hmm.
also with the idea of strong alignment with mission and vision,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, and that I think that enables you to make decisions in a more fearless kind of way. You can make good decisions without worrying too much about outcomes if you have good alignment with the mission and vision and if everyone in the organization's points of view have been at least heard.
yeah,
Maybe there's disagreement and there will always be, but just being able to hear what other people think and then fold that in to a
yeah, yeah.
decision that
And
you believe in, right?
mhm, exactly. And don't let that prevent you from doing the work or affecting you because it's not personal, it's the work.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's also brilliant because every leader is prone to stress. If you can't frame the conflict appropriately, then it can eat away at you and generate background noise. What's the best way for people to plug in? Is it certainly you have information on the website, but are there other ways for
Mhm.
people to plug in?
Yeah, our website will show you our work, our initiatives, and also we have all social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and we also have a YouTube channel. They can also email us, of course, at info@sia-africa.org. We always welcome new volunteers, people who have tons of ideas on how we can match the resources with opportunities, and how we can all work together to also share our beneficiaries' story with the world.
What a great way for, certainly for students in the US, which I'm more familiar with,
Hmm.
to plug in and get
Yeah.
connected with a diverse group and
Mm.
work that's satisfying and interesting.
Yeah, it's a great experience for sure.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah, we will. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.